In this video, I'll show you how to build a storage rack similar to the one you see behind me here. This will be for 102-liter totes. It'll be 5 totes high and 3 rows wide.
Hey everyone, in this video, I'm going to show you how to make a storage rack for these 102-liter totes. These are from Home Depot, but this should fit any 102-liter tote. So I'll read you off the dimensions of this just so you can confirm. This is 19.5 inches wide. It is 28.5 inches long, and it is 15.5 inches tall. The rack I'm going to be building is 5 totes high, 3 rows wide. So the materials required, we have 10 2x2s, 8 foot long, and we have 12 2x4s, 8 foot long. Next, for tools, you're going to need a drill and an impact driver, approximately 2 pounds worth of 2.5 inch wood screws. Wood glue is optional. And then you will need something to cut your material, either a miter saw, a circular saw. If you don't have those, you can use a jigsaw, but it's going to be a lot harder to do. And then another optional thing, but nice to have, is a speed square for making all your measurements. All right, everyone, when you're buying lumber, you want to look at the lumber. Stick it up on edge, look down the top. So if you look down the top, this board is fairly straight. We don't want big humps in it. We don't want bows, twists, or anything warped. So when you're buying, look at the wood and make sure it's relatively straight. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our 2x2s and we're going to measure 27 inches. So I've got my pencil, make a mark at 27 inches. You'll be able to get 3 pieces out of each board, and we need a total of 30. So I'm going to measure all these out and then cut them. Okay, I'm going to show you a trick to measure these all out quickly. So we want 27 inches. And then our next mark is at 54 inches, and our last mark is at 81 inches. So if you take the 2x2s, I'm going to do this 3 at a time. Line up the bottom so that they're flush. We're going to take our speed square on our first mark, and we are just going to draw it across. And then we will go here to the next mark, draw it across, and the last mark, draw it across. So we have all 3 of these marked. I'm going to do the same for all the 2x2s.
For the sake of saving time, I fast forwarded through this, but I'm cutting all 30 of the 2x2s at 27 inches. Cutting with a miter saw is definitely the fastest, but if you don't have one, there are other options like I discussed earlier.
Don't have a miter saw, this is how you cut with a circular saw. You're going to need a square. So the square is what keeps the guide of your saw square. Line it up just like that. And now we have a perfectly square cut. It is a lot easier using a miter saw, but if you don't have one, you can do it all with a circular saw. We have 30 of the 2x2s cut. Now we're going to move on to the 2x4s. We are going to take 8. We've got 8 here. We are going to mark these all at 83 inches. So take our pencil, our tape, measure and mark 83 inches on all these boards. Okay, and we will do that for all 8.
Now we'll take these 8 2x4s and we'll cut them all at 83 inches. The cutoff piece is scrap, so you can keep it or get rid of it. That doesn't matter.
So we have 8 of the 2x4s. They are cut at 83 inches. So we should have 4 2x4 8 foot left over. We're going to put these aside for now. So I'm going to move these out of the way. And next we are going to make some measurements on these boards here. We have the 8 2x4s cut at 83 inches. We're gonna take 2 of them and we are gonna mark these for our rails. So this is important. I'm gonna show you guys the measurements. Line up the bottom so the bottom is flush, and then put a B on for bottom. Now, we're gonna take a tape measure. Our first mark is gonna be 15 inches. Okay, then we are gonna go 16 inches from the first one. So 31, 47, 63, 79. We're gonna take our square. Since we have the bottoms flush, we can just transfer this across, and we are going to put X's. So we want the 2x2 to sit flush on there. Now, we're going to do this all the way up. These are going to be the sides of the shelves for the 2x2s. So we have 15 to start. We have the bottom marked, 15 with an X, 31 with an X, 47 with an X, 63 with an X, 79 with an X. So what the X means, later on, we're gonna take our 2x2. So we want the 2x2 to sit on the side with the X, flush with the top of the line, just like that. We've got our 2 pieces cut at 83 inch here. Now we are going to lay these down with the bottoms in line, and we are gonna take the 27 inch pieces and we're gonna screw them on here. So when doing this, we have the bottoms marked. We also have the X's on the bottom. So we're gonna take our 2x2, make sure it's flush on the edge and flush with the top of the line. And then we are gonna screw it in using our 2.5 inch wood screws. Okay. We are going to put all 5 of these on. Again, flush with the outside, and the top of the 2x2 is on that line flush.
It's best to pre-drill every time you're putting a screw in. This helps to prevent the screws from splitting and cracking the lumber. We want to put 2 screws on each of the 2x2s on each end.
Okay, so we have 2 screws per. If you want, you can add wood glue here. It's not necessary, but we have the 2x2s flush with the top of the line, the bottom's all down. Okay, we have all of these assembled. So we've got all 30 of the 2x2s on. We used all 8 of the 2x4s at 83 inches. As you can see, 2 of these have 2x2s on both sides, and then the other ones just have the 2x2s on the inside. So this is the rough layout. Now we want to cut our last 4 2x8s that are going to go 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom, and it's going to give us equal spacing. So let's go back out to the saw. Okay, so last 4 2x4 8 foot. We are going to take these and we're going to make measurements for our spacing. So we want 20 1/4 inches in between those ladders that we made. So I'm going to read off the spacing to you. We're going to make our first mark at 21 3/4. Our next mark 43 1/2, and then our third mark 65 1/4. So we want to mark these on all 4 boards, which we'll do now. Have all these measured and marked. Let me show you here. So our first line is at 21 3/4. We have an X on this side. Next line 43 1/2 with an X, and the last line 65 1/4. So we want to cut these now. We want to cut these at 66 3/4. So I'm going to make a line 66 3/4, and we are going to cut both of these. So these 4 pieces that we're going to use to space out the ladders, I've cut them at 66 3/4 inch. Let's bring these in now. These pieces we just cut, we're going to line up down here. One of the easier ways to line it up is you can cut a template at 20 1/4 inch and then stick this in between, and now we are going to screw in here. So line this up so it's flush. We're going to be using our 2.5 inch wood screws, and we're going to put 2 screws into each board. we have all the spacing correct using the template. We're going to put the other 3 boards on now.
Now that we have all 4 of the 66 3/4 inch pieces attached, we can lift this up as it's held together.
Okay, we've got the 102 liter rack done. So as you can see, we can slide these totes in and out, which makes it really easy for accessing. You can put them anywhere you want, and they slide on the lip of the tote.
I custom built this for a customer who had a very specific order. I decided to add some 2x4s to the back to make it more rigid so that it wouldn't wobble. Just make sure your diagonals are the same measurement so that it's square. You may notice here that it looks a lot bigger, and that's because I added 3 more rows onto this for 64 liter totes. So the customer wanted 3 rows for 102 liter totes, which is what I showed you how to build in this video, and then I added another 3 rows for 64 liter totes. You can see me filling it up here. I have another video on my channel showing how to build 3 rows for 64 liter totes, so you can build this exact same unit. These shelving racks can be totally customized for whatever your needs are. I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment sections. I post all kinds of videos on tips, tricks, and home renos.